Just to bring you some breaking news that we brought you earlier, just to give you more details, US Centcom has confirmed that 4 of the 6 crew members on board an aircraft that crashed in Iraq have died. Rescue efforts are continuing there over this refuelling jet. It came down at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March the 12th. It's a US KC-135 refuelling aircraft that went down in western Iraq. As I mentioned there, the US Centcom is saying that 4 people were confirmed dead. They are continuing to investigate the incident, but they have said that the loss of aircraft was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire. We shall bring you more details on that as we get them. Now, as we approach 2 weeks since the US and Israel first struck Iran, killing the country's supreme leader and sparking a conflict spanning across the Middle East, there seems to be no let-up. So where are we in this conflict, and are the aims of the US any clearer? Let's talk now to our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucet. Good to always see you, Lise. You've covered wars and conflicts for many years. You've seen civilian suffering firsthand. Can you tell us a little bit about the actual cost of human life here and what this war is doing to the children of this region?
I think, Nomia, there's been a growing concern that even the language about this war has been very dehumanizing. The way that the U.S. Defense Secretary, or as he calls himself, the Secretary of War, Peter Hegseth, talks about death and destruction every day. They talk about when they go after an Iranian tanker, they could have bombed it, but they sunk it because it's more fun to sink a tanker. And you get this sense of that it's almost a war game. And even in war, words matter. And of course, our colleagues, Tom Bateman and the State Department and other journalists, continue to press American officials, including President Trump, to give clearer answers about what happened on the very first day of the war, the same morning that the salvos were targeting the compound of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and other security chiefs. They also, according to BBC Verify, a U.S. Tomahawk missile hit a military base in southern Iran, which was very close to a school. And Iran says that in that school and in the surrounding area, 168 people were killed and more than 110 children. And the United States just continues to say that they're investigating. And every day someone else is commenting that this should be taken seriously, that even in war, there are rules. And there are reports, too, that in all of the other countries in the region, most importantly in Lebanon, which is described as the Southern Front, children's charities are expressing concern about the impact on children there, as children are on the run again, hundreds of thousands displaced, not going to school. Infrastructure is being targeted too in Iran, which means that the lives of everyone is affected, including the most innocent of all, and that is the children.
Yeah. Lisa, you were in Iran recently, and there is a distinction that Iranians do make, isn't there, between Persian people and the Islamic public. I wonder about your assessment in terms of the impact this war is having on people. Is it blurring that line? Is it sharpening it? Is there going to be a rally around the flag type of effect? What's your assessment of that?
Iran, of course, is a vast country, 3 times the size of Iraq, more than 92 million people. The population is predominantly Persian, more than 50%, but there are also very large minorities, including the Kurds in the west and the Arabs, significant Arab population too, along the Iraqi border, the Azeris. And it was in the Kurdish area where our viewers may remember in the early days of the war, there was a whole series of reports that the Iranian Kurds were going to be armed and they were going to start trying to get a foothold by taking over a corner of Iran. They're being armed not just by the US but also by Israel, and then those reports have gone away. And what we get most recently is no, that new front is not going to open. I really felt it. I've been going to Iran for many years, but on our last trip in February, I really felt it was a country which was pulling in different directions at a crossroads. That the regime, the clerical regime, still has its supporters, but Iranians had gone out in huge numbers across the country in January. Some of them calling for economic change, for for their lives to change, because they're suffering more year on year, and sometimes even more day by day at that time, from the spiraling inflation, from the collapsing currency, from years of economic mismanagement and corruption. But there were many more who were also calling not just for quick fixes on the economy, but for fundamental change in the regime to bring down the order. And yet, as we've been hearing from Iranians in Tehran, it's difficult to hear it. Our colleagues in the BBC Persian service are getting messages that even those who had called for protest, even those who had dared to hope that the start of the war was the beginning of the end of the Islamic Republic, they now find themselves in the midst of attacks on crowded residential streets. They're seeing the attacks which are damaging Iran's infrastructure, even Iran's prized heritage sites. And many of them are now questioning whether or not this war is good for Iran and good for the future of Iran.
And Lise, also, just the long-term strategy of Iran. Iran probably tends to think in centuries and not news cycles. What is the strategy here for the Islamic Republic?
Iran was never going to fight a conventional military war against the world's mightiest power, the United States. They have always specialized in what we call an asymmetric war, in which it is two unequal military powers, and one of them, in this case Iran, uses unconventional military means. And that is what Iran has spent decades at trying to perfect. It's always been said in Iran, they play a long game. And this is what we are seeing, that they have decided that this is a battle for survival, and the only way for them to survive is to try to ratchet up the price, not just for the region, but for the wider global economy. And that's what we're seeing with Iran basically stopping tankers and also tankers carry not just oil, but vital ingredients needed for fertilizer, so that oil prices are going up. Food prices are also going to see an impact. And in their attacks in countries across the Persian Gulf, they're no longer just attacking U.S. military bases, as they talk about. They're attacking tourism infrastructure, hotels and airport and data centers. They want to make it absolutely clear that if anyone should try to think again about starting a war, they should know the risks and the costs. So even if President Trump should wake up tomorrow and declare in his terms that they're claiming victory in this war, it's not clear whether Iran is ready to give up this long war. And that was certainly the message yesterday from the first speech, whether it was written by Moshtaba Khamenei or himself. That it was really a message of defiance.
I'll have to cut you off, Lise. Thank you so much for your analysis there. That's our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucet. You're watching BBC News. The US is allowing the temporary sale of some Russian oil to try to boost global supplies and ease prices. The US Treasury approved a license covering oil and petroleum products already at sea, saying the short-term measure would not give a significant financial boost to Moscow. This is Brent crude has settled above $100 a barrel for the first time since 2022. That's amid the ongoing disruption caused by the US-Israel war with Iran. Stocks fall as Iran vows to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. The BBC's North America business correspondent Michelle Fleury has more on warnings coming from energy and economic leaders.
The global oil shock is raising alarms from some of the world's top economic and energy experts. It's also rattling financial markets. The Dow and the S&P 500 both closed down about 1.5% on Thursday, with tech stocks facing even steeper losses. Since the start of the year, the Nasdaq is now down a total of 4%. With the Strait of Hormuz almost impassable to shipping, producers in the Gulf have cut oil production by at least 10 million barrels a day. That's according to the International Energy Agency. Now, a former head of the agency warned the disruption we're seeing is unprecedented.
Iran is actually, I think, succeeding in inflicting enormous economic damage on the global economy, and it's hitting California, $8 gasoline, apparently.
And the potential economic fallout could extend far beyond energy. The head of the conference board told us companies are already preparing to pull back.
Our projections at the conference board are that GDP growth will be hit by this, somewhere between 10 and 30 basis points, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a massive amount. We also think that inflation will rise by an incremental 20 to 30 basis points. That has a knock-on effect with the central bank then of not not proceeding with their rate reductions, which had been forecast here in the first part of the year, and that's been pushed back. So then borrowing costs, mortgage costs, all of those issues rise to the fore.
When it comes to the economic implications, the concern is that if the disruption continues, economists warn the ripple effects could mean slower hiring, less investment, and more pressure on businesses and consumers.
Our business correspondent there, Michelle Flory. Just want to remind you of our breaking news story this hour. US Centcom has confirmed that 4 crew members on board an aircraft that fell in Iraq 4 people have died. Rescue efforts are continuing. They are also investigating exactly what happened, and they say that the loss of the aircraft was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire. So just to remind you, it's approximately 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March the 12th that a US KC-135 refuelling aircraft went down in western Iraq. 4 people on board confirmed dead, but the investigations are going. And just to repeat, the loss of the aircraft, according to US officials, was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire. You can see some pictures there of the refueling jet. Just to also remind you of another story that we're covering as we continue to bring you more on the ongoing conflict. Israel's launched new strikes towards the Iranian capital. There have been explosions heard in Tehran. This is as they celebrate Al-Quds Day. Just to remind you, Al-Quds, it's an annual pro-Palestinian event held on the last Friday of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. It's where people come out to express support for Palestinians and oppose Israel and Zionism. You can see images there in Tehran, people waving the Iranian flag, as well as pictures of the new Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, who is the son of the Ayatollah who was killed in those US-Israeli airstrikes. He's still not been seen or actually heard, although a statement by him has been read out on State International TV. And we were hearing from my colleague earlier that Iran State TV does control very much what people inside Iran can hear. Do keep looking at our coverage, following our coverage on the BBC website. We have a live page running on all the latest as the war continues into its second week. Stay here with us on BBC News.